My guest tonight, please welcome to the show, Danny fucking Price. Woo! We've sort of come to know each other through a bunch of people who are looking to get a similar message across, to kind of highlight corruption, to let people know the reality of what's going on in a way that they can consume that information and like hopefully make it entertaining, right?
Yeah.
How did you get into that? Because you're like, you do music and live events and that sort of stuff by trade.
Yeah.
How did you get into the politics stuff?
My company had just bought like 2 venues and of course like no events. So we was all left with like nothing to do. And like I'd always been the funny guy in my group. I started doing these sketches like Quarantine with Me and Gogglebox, like parodies, like sketches where it's just me as like some of my characters living in this flat, this 1-bedroom flat here. And like I just did it for my friends and it was a laugh, it was funny. And they kind of blew up. Yeah, a couple of them went viral and whatever. Then I started doing these weekly roundups that was only like 3 to 4 minute like clips of me just sitting over there talking about being on my own and, you know, what some funny stuff that I saw online or what the government's doing and whatever. And it wasn't really like political. It was a bit of Tory bashing, to be honest. And then like I did this one video and it just like blew up. And then I realized that it wasn't just light humor that I was doing, and it wasn't just for a couple of hundred people. It was actually for, all of a sudden, like overnight, it turned out to be thousands of people. It was when George Floyd was killed. Right. I did that video. It just like, it blew up. And the way that I said things, it was different to everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I've been told a bunch of times that like I talk like we're talking in a pub. I don't use big words. I'm dyslexic. I can't use big words. So, you know, like I just talk like how I talk, just like normally, like just making things understandable and digestible for people and applying common sense sort of logic to what we're given and what we're told that is usually complex, but it isn't really, if you think about it. When you get down to it, it's not. So that's what I did.
This is something that is ringing home to me a lot now, more than it has even sort of, you know, a year or 2 years ago, is the space that has opened up for people like you, me, Tan, maybe Marina Purkis, like people who are not like journalistically trained, have not come up that sort of like Eton Oxbridge kind of route. And I don't know if it's sort of an oversaturation of that kind of media that has pushed people towards people who kind of talk like a person in the pub, or if it's the advent of social media where, you know, these traditional journalistic figures are not so dominant on social media, whereas people are, you know, they want to get the news, they want to listen to somebody like you on Instagram tell them how things are, rather than that.
I think it's part of the individual, because prior to the pandemic, I used to do some work with Double Down News. And there was always these online news companies, but I think at some point they still become part of a larger thing, and they make their money and whatever. And whereas individuals are so much more unique with the way the message is delivered and the news is delivered. And like I have my job, so I don't do it for money or to gain anything. Just like all of the other people that you mentioned, we all have our lives, and I think that's the thing. It's just we're normal people delivering like important news.